Back in March, there was a failed assassination plot in New York City against a prominent activist. If you haven't heard much about it, that could be because the perpetrator was inspired by a Jewish terrorist organization, and his target was a Palestinian.
FBI agents swooped in to arrest 26-year-old Alexander Heifler.
A resident is accused of building Molotov cocktails with the intention of throwing them at the home and cars of a New York City-based pro-Palestinian activist.
They say they found 8 Molotov cocktails and prevented an assassination plot.
Back in March, Alexander Heifler, a 26-year-old living in New Jersey, was arrested over an alleged plot to firebomb the home of Palestinian activist Nerdeen Kiswani. Heifler belonged to a Zionist organization called the JDL 613 Brotherhood, a little-known group that draws inspiration from one of the most violent and notorious Jewish organizations in modern U.S. history, the Jewish Defense League. Designated by the FBI as a right-wing terrorist group, the Jewish Defense League is a far-right, pro-Israel extremist organization associated with militant Jewish nationalism and anti-Arab hatred. It was founded in 1968 by Rabbi Meir Kahane, an Orthodox Jewish rabbi from Brooklyn. He was an extremist Zionist, anti-Palestinian racist who preached Jewish supremacy and the expulsion of Palestinians from historic Palestine.
To transfer the Arabs out of this country.
Kahane believed that Jews faced severe anti-Semitism and argued for militant self-defense, encouraging Jews to arm themselves and adopting slogans that encouraged violent militarism.
We think it's time for Jews to bear arms.
The JDL got its start by patrolling New York City streets on the hunt for anti-Semitism. That shortly turned into campaigns of violence, including bombings, deadly shootings, brutal beatings, and assassination plots, targeting Palestinians, Arab Americans, Soviet diplomatic figures, and even liberal Jews. Between 1980 to 1985, the FBI documented 17 bombings carried out by the JDL. Then, in a violent escalation in 1985, JDL members assassinated Palestinian activist Alex Oda in a bombing at his office in California. The suspects fled to Israel and to this day have never been charged. Kahane himself moved to Israel, where he founded the Kach Party, which espouses violent and racist policies towards Palestinians.
The Arabs are not equal citizens here,
including advocating for the expulsion of Palestinians.
There is no Palestine, no Palestinians. There never was, there never will be. They're Arabs, and let them go live in Jordan.
The strict separation of Jews and non-Jews, and a Jewish supremacist Greater Israel. The Kach Party has even introduced legislation calling for the enslavement of Palestinians. Kahane was killed in the 1990s, but his ideas lived on and inspired many followers, including the terrorist Jewish American settler who carried out the Ibrahimi Mosque massacre in 1994, killing 29 Palestinians while they were praying. Kahane still has followers today, including some of Israel's most prominent political figures, like Itamar Ben-Gvir, Israel's current Minister of National Security. Ben-Gvir is a self-described disciple of Kahane. He's been convicted multiple times for incitement to racism and for supporting a terrorist organization.
מוות למחבלים. הם צריכים להיות מוצאים להורג.
He even famously kept a portrait of the Ibrahimi Mosque massacre perpetrator, Baruch Goldstein, in his living room. So with such a sordid history of racism and violence, why was the JDL allowed to operate in the US? The group was designated as a terrorist organization by the US government in the 1990s, but the group and its offshoots that it's inspired are still overlooked today. One such group is Betar US.
pager! Boom!
The US-based branch of Betar, a Zionist group founded in 1923 by the settler Zev Jabotinsky. Its tactics and strategies often mirror those of the JDL.
Who was right, Kahane? Kahane was right!
And the group has been documented as working with other JDL-inspired groups like the JDL 613 Brotherhood, the group that Alexander Heifler was a part of. Self-described loud and proud Zionists, these militant groups claim to be fighting back against anti-Semitism. But what they're really doing is harassing, intimidating, and inciting violence against Palestinians and critics of Israel.
Norman, how's it going? I got you a pager. Want a pager, Norman?
Just for example, Betar has celebrated the killing of Gazan children, it's doxed student activists, and it's cheered on the Trump administration's crackdown on the Palestine movement as a whole. The group has even openly celebrated its own role in helping ICE and the administration crack down on activists like Mahmoud Khalil.
Khalil wrote a letter in jail blaming Betar I can't get into details exactly what that role is, but I think for sure there was a real role played by Betar in deportations.
The US government's decades-long failure to hold the murderers of Alex Oda accountable, and its failure to crack down on groups like Betar and other offshoots of the JDL, has paved the way for the violent escalation against Palestinian activists like Nerdeen Kiswani.
She played an integral organizational role at the encampment and incited students to escalate.
Earlier this year, Betar was investigated and ordered to disband by the New York Attorney General, but the group and others like it still operate online and across the US. On top of that, we have sitting politicians and pundits in the media that pile on to this racist anti-Palestinian incitement.
The fact of the matter is the Palestinian cause is an evil one.
The plot against Nerdeen Kiswani may have failed, but Jewish terrorism in Palestine and the US is very much alive and well.